Welcome, everybody. This is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. And we come to you every week doing exactly that with a few questions that we're going to give you some answers to. If you're like, I've got a question, you're going to be able to send that to us. We're going to be able to get to it next week, probably, kind of. And chances are good, actually. It just depends on how soon you get it in, really. And then, oh, look at that right there. There are tools that we use that allow us to remember things that we might not have remembered otherwise. And the second slide reminding Rushton to turn on the captions is one of them. Thank you for joining us. We hope that you are excited about kind of the tail end of the week, the chance to enjoy a few fun ideas before launching completely into your weekend. And we also want to pass out a big thanks to all of the Merit 20 people, all the good folks at the Krause Center for Innovation, Foothill College, here in the San Francisco Bay Area. And of course, all of the good folks who follow Free Tech for Teachers. Why don't you give us a quick description of Free Tech for Teachers, Richard?
Free Tech for Teachers is a little blog I started back in 2007 as a way to organize my thoughts on all kinds of cool EdTech tools I was finding and discovering and trying out in my classroom. And 13 years and 15,000 blog posts later, it keeps on going, or I keep on going, I guess, and therefore it keeps on going. Check it out.
Matter of fact, even before we get to the slides explaining how this works, we've already had a question. And Chris said, you have two people on the screen at once. How do you achieve this? Both are simply listed as panelists. Yes, we are in the webinar tool and we are both panelists and both have our screens on, therefore. So style points on the quick question as we jump into it. My name is Rushton. I run Next Vista for Learning. It is a library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere, free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from, all for a student audience, all screen content, my own little attempt to save the universe from ignorance, one creative video at a time. Thank you very much. Loads on that I'd be happy to tell you about. One of the things that we do, though, is we do these webinars. So we do the webinar today, the one that we're doing right now, me and Richard. And then there's another one I do later in the afternoon with the very cool K2 Can 2 educator, Susan Stewart, amazing lady that she is. That's activities across grade levels. And today our theme is sharing a message. So that's going to be some graphic design stuff, short video stuff, a couple of different ideas on that front. Feel free to join in by registering in the same place where you registered for this one. I'll get a link up for that post haste. So with that, how this works, what we do is we handle some questions, we share a cool thing, we handle some more questions, we share another cool thing, then we handle some more questions, then we finish up. And we have fun along the way because that's how we roll. So with that, Richard, why don't you start us off?
All right, let's get our first question out of the way. This one came from Lance, who said, if you have the time, I am thinking of making a tutorial video for our PE students for the purposes of navigation and entering results. So it will be recorded right from the screen. What do you recommend for recording platform? Also, what are some of those highlighting, cursor, drawing image type tools you use when you want to emphasize or point something out? I figured you must have a video on this on your site. I do have a video on that on my site. You can do a couple of different tools. Screencastify has the focus mouse and highlight on click, as Rushton pointed out. Screencast-O-Matic is the tool that I use most of the time. That also will let you highlight and draw on the screen. And Loom, L-O-O-M, Loom also will let you do that. So 3 options there for drawing or highlighting on your screen, which I think is a great way to really point out to people, click here, or look at this thing on the screen. I sometimes will use it too if I'm showing both a teacher perspective and a student perspective of a particular tool. I'll label teacher view, student view. So any of those 3 tools would work for you, Lance.
Absolutely. And Lance, I don't normally use the kind of the cursor control bit, but I thought, I'm sure that's in Screencastify. So here are like the 28 seconds or so of me exploring exactly that. So I am checking to see how, there we go, highlight clicks are supposed to be happening now. Focus mouse is this, so you can do that. Hide cursor when not moved. Don't know about that. Highlight clicks. So now I've got both of those. There we go. On my way to an academy for that one, I am sure. So hopefully that quick description was something that allows you to go, good, I see that. Cool, Richard. Let's go on to the next question.
Yeah. Well, Marcy just asked a follow-up. Are those tools able to be used in Zoom as well? Yes, I have been able to use those while also Zooming at the same time.
That's a cool question, by the way. It's interesting what does and doesn't work in terms of which app is controlling a camera and that kind of thing. But when you are in Zoom, you can do at least a screencastify piece at the same time, which is great. There's some kind of interesting meta, like the fabric of the universe stuff going on, but I just don't pay attention to it.
Yeah. And so the follow-up question from Judith was, could you use it in Meet at the same time? Unfortunately, no. And here's why. Because Zoom launches from your desktop while Meet launches from your browser.
Word.
So.
Exactly. Cool. And speaking of follow-up questions, we had another question from Chris. He says, maybe off topic, but how do you put a clickable donate button into a video?
Ooh, a working clickable button in the video.
So when you're putting a little, I'm blanking on the name of these things, but when you're editing in YouTube itself, you can put little cards up or whatever they're called.
They're called cards.
That's why I thought they might be. Anyway, so you put a card up, and can you create a link to something other than another YouTube video? I mean, it could just go to a page, right?
If you have a YouTube partner account, which basically you can't do it with the Google for Education account, but you can use it you get a Gmail account this way. Mm-hmm. If you have a YouTube partner account, you can then link to some of their approved vendors, like Patreon is one of them. So if you're looking to get a donation for yourself through Patreon, you can use that as one of those clickable components in your video. The other thing you could consider doing, ThingLink does let you link to anything from your video. So there's a couple options there, but it's tricky.
That's a cool example. Well, I'm going to throw the ThingLink link into the chat real quick so that people can find that and give that a look. And Chris, who put that in there, might be able to say, hey, that's exactly what I needed. All right, let's see. Let's do one more question before we get to the first cool thing.
All right, so let's get to a question we forgot to get last week.
Okay.
So I've been added as a co-teacher to Google Classroom. The issue is now that I receive the assignments from the primary teacher's students in my Gmail, I'm only the co-teacher, so she and I can keep an eye on assignments to students and maintain some cohesiveness. I have no grading responsibilities to her students, nor do I want that. Is there a way to turn off something so I no longer receive her students' submissions notifications? Yes.
Matter of fact, I've got a screen ready to go if you'd like.
You already have that ready to go, Rushton?
I have it ready to go. So
why do you show that?
I am going to do the new share. And by the way, there's going to be several different pieces of Zoom advice over the course of this episode. And one of them is when you want to go from one thing you're sharing to another, instead of stop share, share screen, pick the new one, go to the controls, and share screen has changed to new share. It'll give you the choices of what to go to, and you can just say, I'm going straight to that one now, and boom, it happens. How fun is that? Now, in the upper left of your classes page, right? So you're in classroom.google.com, and in the upper left, and by the way, those of you who don't teach, Classroom is a wildly underused team tool. So in terms of having, a lot of kind of stuff in the same place, resources that people need to get to, reminders that go out, this is a great tool. So even if you've got a business, you might even think Classroom is a useful one. So anyway, coming back to it, the main menu that you bring up from the left, the hamburger menu that's up there, you scroll all the way down, and what you're going to do is you're going to find down here settings, right? And in settings, most of it is notifications and email. So a lot of it is generalized first, but then you can go down to class notifications and turn off notifications for specific classes. And that is a perfectly good thing to do so as not to be absolutely consumed by email from Google Classroom, which we all know is a very real possibility.
That's a very streamlined solution. Another possibility is you can set up a filter or label in your Gmail so that you automatically filter them to a particular folder, so that you can still get those notifications, but not actually have to be bombarded in your primary inbox all the time with them.
Richard, have you created a tutorial about that before? And I don't mean filtering in general. I mean filtering specific to Classroom, because I find that it's very easy to set up a filter for something in Gmail related to Classroom and to not get it right. You know what I mean? Yeah. So have you done anything along those lines?
I have not made a video specifically about that, but that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Stay tuned.
That's right. That's right. If you didn't know that Richard puts together tons of really cool tutorial videos, you will know by the end of this particular episode. Speaking of Richard, he has a cool share.
So here's a cool share. We've got a whole bunch of follow-up questions we'll talk about in just a moment. But this morning, Rushton sent me a fun little email because he got a fun little email from YouTube saying we've been flagged for a copyright violation.
But wait. Today's email said, congratulations, your flagging of copyright blah, blah, blah has been released or something. Like it was something like, you're great. And I was like, when was I not great? I don't know. Had to throw that in. Richard, please continue.
Yes. So it was a completely unintentional copyright violation that we got flagged for because in a previous episode of this webinar, we showed a snippet of a YouTube video that was not one of ours. And YouTube's automated algorithm flagged it as a copyright violation. So all that to say, today's quick share is all about copyright. Stanford University Library's copyright and fair use resources are extensive. There's an entire section there for educators who are wondering about what does fair use mean. They do a good job of debunking a lot of myths around fair use. Fantastic resource about all manner of copyright. You can even go look at copyright, previous copyright case law and whatnot. All kinds of cool stuff in there. So check that out. You can look at all kinds of neat stuff in there. So that's the Stanford University copyright and fair use page. That cool was not going to be my quick share until Rushton's email this morning. I was going to do something else, but I'll save that for next week. Stay tuned.
All right. Cool. Now we should note, by the way, that when we shared that video 4 weeks ago, because it was episode 17. If you're really like, I got loads of time on my hands, then feel free to go to our show page, right, and then go down to 17. The particular share was this off the charts cool video from this Scandinavian band called Wintergatan or something kind of close to that, and it's the Marble Machine, but it's a music video that it's kind of mind blowing, right? Now what I did, it's not like I pulled the video up on its own. I went to the YouTube page and described it as we were kind of seeing the first few moments of it, and then talked about it from the standpoint of what you can do with it as a teacher. But even that was enough, apparently somewhere, to flag this as a potential problem. And, I don't know, maybe kudos that they do that. But I was certainly glad to receive the notification that I'd been released. That was the verb, released from the concern with that. So if over the last few weeks, and maybe you've tried to get to that particular video and you haven't been able to it because it said something like, flagged, we've been released. So, All right, Richard, we have more questions, I believe.
Oh, we've got so many questions.
Oh, and you said there were follow-ups to the last one. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, there are tons of follow-ups. So some, unless I hover over it, let me see. Teresa asked, Does Google Meet allow something like new share that Zoom has? I'm not thrilled with the stop and go when I share a Chrome tab and switch to a PDF or some other window outside of Chrome. It does not. And my workaround for that has just been to have I just screen share my entire desktop and just move my tabs around. And it is clunky. It is not, it is glitchy. As Julie said, it's glitchy. Yes, it's glitchy. It is glitchy. And that is just,
that's what we know.
That's the cost of doing business with Google Meet, I guess.
And let's recognize, right? So there was a big thing in the spring about, oh, Zoom, it's not secure, blah, 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 right? And yeah, there was some, oh, by the way, I'm impressed with Google Slides for having gotten the blah, blah, blah just perfect in the transcript. That's pretty good. Now, anyway, there was this concern, and yes, it was a concern under certain circumstances, et cetera, et cetera. They handled it pretty quickly. And what we have is under COVID, we have this arms race going on that we've talked about in episodes past, right? But between like Google with Meet and Zoom and Microsoft Teams and there are other ones out there as well, Jitsi, and so they're quick. They're really fast in making some changes on this stuff. And just as a hint, you might get a cool share in the very near future that speaks to this very idea. All right, let's keep going. Another question.
All right. So let's get another question here. So I'm curious about publishing in Google. I've stumbled upon various posts about publishing aside from Google Sites. What is the purpose, and how can this help students, teachers can adopt when a doc or slide is published? If so, can it be updated and edited once published? Is this something beneficial to teach as a tech integrator? Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So first of all, to clarify for everybody, this person is referring to publishing Google Slides and publishing Google Docs as their own standalone web pages. When you're in Google Docs or you're in Google Slides, or for that matter, Google Spreadsheets, you go to File, Publish As, and you can publish it as its own standalone web page that people don't have to sign into in order to view the content. That's what she's referring to. Benefits for it, I find it's an easy way to share my slides so that people don't have to sign into a Google account in order to see it. Downside to it, people don't have to sign in, so you don't really know who's looked at your slides or not looked at your slides, or looked at your doc but not looked at your doc.
So here's a question for you. When you publish a set of slides as a web page, how do they appear to someone who is not logged into a Google account at all? Well,
let's do this, Rushton. Let's go to, this is a good opportunity to do the view an incognito window.
All right.
So if we publish our slides right now to the web.
Yep.
And I'm doing it right now.
Why don't you take over
I'm going to screen share right now.
Yeah, let me stop sharing. Go ahead.
There we go.
Okay. And so, by the way, for those of you in the audience, we did a stop share because we're going from the host to a non-host sharing screen as opposed to the new share we did before. So you know.
Yeah. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm now going to open that in an incognito window, and there's our slides from the perspective of someone who's not signed in. It is a full-blown, full screen web page. We can tab through them, jump to each one. Right? You can even do, all that kind of cool stuff of looping them and auto advance, and look at our speaker notes if we had any, or report us for a copyright violation. Please don't do that.
just in case that comes up. So yeah, in one of the, I looked up a little bit on this front, and one of the how-to geek page on this, when you share a file to the web, Drive creates a copy of it with a unique URL. This allows you to make edits and publish changes when you want to, and it also prevents viewers from seeing any source material. Now that source material bit was an interesting one for me, right? As I thought about it, because I was like, what does that mean really, right? And because I achieve kind of the same thing by simply changing the URL from edit to present so that it does present within the browser and doesn't take over your screen and blah, 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 right? It's kind of the same thing as published to the web. And I believe that works just fine for people who are not in an account either, as long as you have shared those slides so that anyone with a link can view.
Right.
There you go. All right, let's jump back to these pieces right here. I think we're about to do another cool share. Oh, it's about Zoom. Didn't see that coming. So with the recent updates to Zoom, there is something that you can do that you may not have known, which is you are in gallery view, and this is me and my buddy Duvall, right? And we were talking earlier today. You can click on your picture in the gallery view. It actually becomes a hand instead of an arrow, right? And not at the moment because it's meta, but regardless. So you click on that, and you can move it so that you can order things the way you want. You can order the gallery view the way you want, which is kind of cool, right? Matter of fact, if you then click this is a toggle that appears in view right over here, and you click follow host's video order, then other people who also have the more recent version of Zoom, right? So if they haven't updated Zoom, but on the other hand, if they're updated as well, then they will see the same order that you do. So that's kind of a cool little update to Zoom. And what I'll do is I will call in the chat because we got a pretty good solid group here today. How many of you guys knew about this? So if you knew about it, put a yes. If you didn't know about it, put a no. Toss that into the chat real quick. We got a no, yes, no, way to go, Kara. No, nope, no, yes, Maria, no. Yeah, nope. All right, so it looks like this was kind of good info for the group. Now, this is there. I did have a link there, which is kind of the Zoom info on this stuff, right? And about kind of view options in general. But that was so fast that I thought I'd throw in a second share. So if you guys are out there going, bonus share, exactly, right? So here's the bonus share for today. We are about 33 days from the US presidential election. Some of you are like, now you just went the wrong way. Dumpster fire kind of situation we've got in the United States. No. So if you don't know about this, you probably should, right? So this is the RealClear Politics latest polls. And every single day, polls that are released that are about particular states. So, it looks like New Hampshire, as of the poll released yesterday from UNH, Biden +9. Okay, so that's just that's what these look like when they come out each day, but there's kind of more to it that you can do. So this is not just for those of you who are like, I got to follow the polls, right? You might kind of be in a space where you're like, I want to know what President Trump's job approval looks like. And you click on this and you see only those polls. Or I just want to know what the Gallup polls look like, and why are the Rasmussen, polls always more favorable, it seems, to one side or the other. I mean, like, you can really explore some cool stuff in here. If you really just want to know how things have been going in California, where Biden is up 27, that's not going to be a hotly contested state, but you can see the different polls that have come up, in that as you go as well, which is kind of fun and cool. So anyway, that is your bonus share for today. I will get both of these links into the chat post haste. There we go. Richard, launch us into a new question, and let's see what we can answer.
All right. So, and I just put in the chat, fun fact, I took a semester course on polling when I was in college.
No way. That's interesting.
Yes.
Hey,
yeah.
Cool.
Yes, I did. And it was actually way more interesting than I thought it was going to be. So anyway, next question came from Andy, who said, is there an easy way to copy questions from a document into a Google form? I have about 70 documents that I'd like to make into online forms. That's a lot of forms. That's a lot of documents. So a couple of options here. Number one, you could manually copy and paste, which could get tricky and tedious for sure. So while copy and paste is easy, it would get tedious. Another option is a tool that I mentioned a couple of weeks ago, maybe in the same episode where we got the copyright violation. I mentioned a service called TeacherMade, where you could take your existing Word doc or your existing PDF, upload it, and then turn what's already written as questions into clickable things for your students. So you could, if you've already got a Word doc that, maybe in the past you gave out as a multiple choice quiz to your kids, you could upload that and then they can just click A, B, C, D as if they were using it on paper, sort of thing. So you could try that option. And Rushton, you have a Google Form add-on.
An add-on, right. Yeah. And it's called Doc to Form.
Okay.
And let me specify that this is untried. I have no idea whether this works. And okay. And the reviews on the add-on page were highly mixed. There were a lot of 5s, like the tool, right? A number of 1s, so frustrating. But the screenshots that they used made it look like a pretty, kind of useful item for being able to go, put this here, put this here, put this here. So might be worth a look. I'll get it into the links page that we have for this episode.
All right. Hey, and speaking of copy and paste, Pat just asked a question in the chat. I can't paste my Word doc into Blogger when I'm creating a blog post. Am I doing anything wrong? Well, as someone who has written 15,000 plus blog posts in Blogger, I can tell you a couple of things. Number one, it works a lot better if you paste it into the HTML editor. Don't paste into the Compose editor, paste into the HTML editor, and then put in break tags, which are just these, when you want to break out paragraphs. So you can do that. Also, Blogger just forced a big update on all users. So there may be some things that are just broken, just flat out broken right now that Google hasn't fixed yet. But in general, if you're going to copy and paste from a Word doc into Blogger, or this applies to WordPress or EduBlogs or really any blogging platform, if you're going to copy and paste from a Word doc, copy and paste into the HTML editor and not into the visual editor or compose mode editor. That's the trick. Yeah.
Well, I will leave that answer at that, given that you have probably written some 15,000. I've written blog posts, but it's probably the rounding error on what you've written. So all good there. And Pat, let's just remind everybody, Pat is the Starbucks card winner from Rushton's newsletter from September. So Pat, while you are sipping your hot chocolate or tea or latte, cappuccino, macchiato, whatever it is, I hope you're like, these guys are fun. So anyway, there you go. Very, very cool. And I hope that the rest of you are like, wait, I could win a Starbucks card? Yes. There you go. All right. So let's see, what do we got? 129. Ooh, 429 for you. What do you think? One more question?
Yep, we'll do it. We'll do one more quick one. Can I ask you something no one else can seem to answer? I no longer see the chat feature when collaborating with students in Google Slides. This is even when we are all live on the doc. Any ideas why? We can comment, but not chat. So, a couple of quick little things. Number one, make sure that you're all in the same domain. If your G Suite for Education domain administrator has split you out in some way, shape, or form, that could be your problem. But also note that you want to make sure your students are actually in the editing mode and not in the view or commenting mode. So I would check those two things, because otherwise it's like Rushton and I could chat on our Google Doc right now if we wanted to.
It's true. It's true. So speaking of chatting and hanging out with friends and sharing cool ideas, we would say this to all of you who went to the trouble of joining us today for a few fun ideas and hopefully something that'll be really useful to you, that those of you who are educators, make sure you are spending time taking care of yourself. You know, the good job we do taking care of kids who need to be inspired, who need, adults who smile at them, things like that, really come from our doing a good job of taking care of ourselves. So make sure that is a part of how you are going through your day as well. Oh, we're back to Starbucks cards. So this is the case. If you're kind of like, I would love to win a Starbucks card, that would just be a great and wonderful thing. Well, then I am going to put my newsletter sign up list into the chat. And what you do is you fill it out. And if you are already on my newsletter, in the comment section, just put already on, just want to win or something like that. Totally fine. And I'll be happy to handle that appropriately. But somebody out of the couple of webinars today is going to win a little Starbucks card, because it is more fun to give away a Starbucks card and not need to than to need to and not do so. There you go. Now, additionally, there is loads at nextvista.org that I hope you will take an interest in. And in the October newsletter, by the way, this may have been one of the best sets of video shares, worth the watch shares I've put out in a long time. That 13.5-minute documentary on Skatistan is what they call it, was amazing. The very first video in the worth the watch section, called Yes I Can, which was a thing for the Paralympics in 2016. That is just one of the coolest videos ever. And so if you're kind of like, I want to see this, then sign up for the newsletter or whatever. If you're kind of like, I thought I was signed up, I can't find it, it went to bulk mail, I don't know, then let me know and we'll figure it out. Anyway, so I have a blog at Inspiring Improvement, right? So rushtonh.com, rushtonh.com. Feel free to give that a look. Written some books, happy to talk to you about those. If you're kind of like, I want to be a better teacher, I want my school to be a better school, I'm into that. So happy to talk to you on that front. And you can get loads of good advice here as well. Tell us about this one, Richard.
So every Sunday evening or Monday morning, depending on my toddler's behavior, I send out the Practical EdTech newsletter. 21,000 people are now following it. And if you sign up, you get a copy of my Practical EdTech handbook, which is 64 pages of my favorite EdTech tools and tips and loads of tutorials. I'm really high right now on my section about search strategies, in particular because I got to use them myself just last week with one of my students. So check that out. And you can go to on the next screen, on the next slide, you can go to my YouTube channel if you like. There's a lot of videos there that I make on all kinds of things, including how to filter your email and how to make a video and all kinds of other stuff. If you have a question for me or for Rushton, send me an email, richard@burn.media, and we'll put it on the list of questions for the next episode. And I also do reply to all of my emails eventually. And you can follow me on Twitter. I've been tweeting away now. My Twitter account is now a teenager.
Fantastic. All right. I see some interest in the chat, and remember that in order to do this, you need to go to the page that was linked there, right? So I will put that link in again, especially because Joanna is interested. Joanna, boom, that is for you. Follow that link right there and you are on your way. All right. Next week, South African ground squirrels and two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. So nicely done over there, right? And we hope that you will join us because we have fun and we would love to share the fun with you. That just seems like a good thing to us. You can find out more at our webinars page. You can go to nextvista.org. You can send questions to nextvista.org/contact. You can get notes to me that way. If that floateth thy boat, feel free. We hope that there are plenty of cool things that you have run across as a function of watching our little episode. We are about to stop the recording. And when we do, we might just answer a few more questions. That's how nice we are. Crazy. So with that, thank you for joining us. If you ever have any questions at all about the different webinars we do, you are welcome to let us know. We hope to see you next week.